I've been using the Sony XM4s for about a year now, and at the time of recording you can get these for about $100 less than they were originally. So are these headphones a good buy in 2021? And more importantly, what do I want from the XM5s? Hello and welcome back to Ellis Reviews, and thank you for subscribing if you have, and if you haven't subscribed, the button is just down there. I've got tons of headphones in this studio, as I've mentioned before, but there's two pairs that I keep coming back to. One of them is AirPods Max, which are just too expensive. Basically, I've reviewed them recently. I'll put a link above to my long-term review of those. They're fantastic headphones. They're just too expensive, but because I've got them, I use them. And I use them most mornings when I'm doing work on the sofa. However, the other pair of headphones I use all the time are the Sony XM4s. Now that's not their actual name. Their actual name is the Sony WH-1000XM4s. I've mentioned this before, I can't stand Sony's product naming conventions. I don't know why they do it, but they do. We will just call these the XM4s from this point onwards. But back in March, I compared these to the AirPods Max. I'll put a link to that video at the end of this video if you want to watch it. But if you want to save some time watching it, then I can confirm that these won, hands down. And the reason for that is you get so much for your money. Now, when you get into the game of buying wireless noise cancelling over-the-ear headphones like these, they're not cheap. You know, you've got to be spending north of $200, £200 to get a decent pair. But you can buy these now for about $250. Probably less if you really do your homework and do a lot of searching. And that's a very, very good price for a pair of headphones that were originally about $349. The other thing to note is that the Sony XM5s, they're kind of rumoured, but there's nothing from Sony. They haven't mentioned them, there's been no leaks. You get the impression either they're not going to arrive this year, or if they do, it could be any time. It could be next week, it could be October, it could be December, who knows? And that begs the question, are these Sony XM4s a good buy still in 2021? A quick caveat before I get started, I'm not going to mention the calling quality on these at all, because I do not use them for calls. I've mentioned this before in the past. I just don't use them for ringing people, and I know people do. I've done a little bit of testing myself, but the general consensus is that these aren't very good calling headphones. I only use them as headphones, so I use them for listening to music, occasionally watching YouTube. That's it. So this review is based on that experience over a year. Now, one of the most important things when you spend a lot of money on a pair of headphones is how long are they going to last? And before things start falling apart and they look a bit worn, I'll be completely honest with you, I cannot find a single mark on them. Now, I am careful with my headphones. I don't just chuck them around, but inevitably things happen to tech. I've had instances recently where I dented my MacBook somehow. I've got no idea how I did it. Things pick up scuffs and scratches. It's just natural. It's a natural part of owning something and using it. And bearing in mind, I use these most days. They come out with me on the road. I take them to coffee shops and things and to the gym and stuff. I don't wear them working out, but I do take them to the gym when I work in the gym's cafe. They look brand new. They look absolutely brand new. Now, the most impressive part of this, I think, are these ear cushions. Now, I remember owning a pair of Beats many years ago, Beats Studio, I think they were, and the ear cushions on those deteriorated after about 6 or 7 months. It didn't take long at all for them to start falling apart and looking terrible. There's a little bit of, I wouldn't call it wear, just kind of wrinkles where, obviously, whatever this is, I think it's leather or it's some kind of plant, whatever it is, obviously, the more it goes around your ears, the more you get these little wrinkles on there. But they're not broken, there's no cracks in them. They're still as soft as they were the day that I bought them. They look, again, pretty much brand new, and that's very impressive. The same thing goes for the headband. So this part at the top here is cushioned, obviously, for your head, and there's no wear on that at all. It isn't even shiny. You know when some things go shiny, like your car steering wheel after several tens of thousands of miles starts to go a bit shiny? This hasn't happened with these at all. They just look brand new. So wear and tear, the headphones themselves is just stunning. No problem. These will put up with a lot of stick, I think. Everything still works. All the kind of folding bits still fold. They don't creak. Special mention also to the case. I think this is one of the best headphone cases you get as standard with a pair of headphones. Rock solid. So no problem chucking it in your bag. And I do that, bearing in mind that I am careful with my headphones. I'm not quite as careful with the cases because that's kind of the point, I think, really. So this does get chucked in a variety of bags and things. Looks brand new. There's just nothing, you can see here. It looks absolutely brand new. The zip still works. The zip is never broken. Sometimes zips come apart. That's never happened, and it gets zipped and unzipped every day. The mesh net thing here, I don't put anything in it personally, but you can put things in here. That looks like brand new. Best headphone case ever. So in terms of wear and tear, amazing. Now the sound, I'm not going to spend ages on this because the Sony XM4s, they're not audiophile headphones. So if you're an audiophile, you'll be disappointed with them probably because it won't be a flat sound. It's very coloured. It's got its own EQ profile and signature Sony sound. However, they are brilliant sounding consumer headphones. The AirPods Max just pip them, as they should, because they're much more expensive. But it's not enough to make these not worthwhile your money because, again, they're so much cheaper and it is a superb sound. It deals with pretty much any kind of music, you know, whether you throw hip hop at it or pop or classical, country, rock, whatever you listen to. I have a very eclectic music taste, as you can probably tell. These deal with all those genres fantastically. Now, it is a signature sound. I will mention that again because it's, you know, like any consumer headphones, they've been EQ'd by Sony. You can EQ them yourselves. I don't personally. I always use headphones out the box as they sound. The only thing I would say is that some people might find them a little bit hollow sounding. There seems to be a little bit missing around the edges of the mid-range. It's very hard to explain and you probably won't really notice it if you're not that fussed about the intricacies of sound. But it's, yeah, there's that to bear in mind. But it's such a small niggle that, probably an unfair niggle as well, because I haven't listened to these over the last year and sat there thinking, oh, I wish they sounded different or sounded better. I just before I was doing this A-roll, I just gave them another listen, compared them against some other headphones, and that's the one thing they stick out with, they're slightly hollow sounding. Regardless of that, the highs are still very crisp. There's enough bass not to kind of wear you out, but just to be there and be pleasant. Mid-range isn't too bad as well. They just sound great. So you can't get massively excited about these headphones if you're an audiophile, but if you just want a really good pair of sounding headphones, these are very hard to beat at the price. Noise cancelling. I think it's generally regarded as being pretty much the best on the market at this price. Again, the AirPods Max is very good, but they're much more expensive. So coming back to this price level, I don't think you can get any better than this. I think they beat the Bose, for example. They definitely beat some of the cheaper brands as well. Whatever Sony do with noise cancelling, they do it right, basically. And noise cancelling, it's not a hard thing to appreciate. You know, when you put them on your head, you turn noise cancelling on. What you shouldn't get is lots of hiss or a kind of oppressive feeling. It should just quietly dampen down the outside world. If you've never had noise cancelling headphones, for example, they don't completely block out sound. You can still hear things. It's just muffled and kind of gone as much as possible. The only thing where they fall down slightly, I think, is their kind of ambient mode where you can filter in the outside world. It's not as good as Apple's transparency mode. It's okay. It's not bad. I don't use it very often though, really, so it's not a big deal for me. I only really use these with the noise cancelling on. Yeah, you won't be disappointed with the noise cancelling with these. So living with these, what's it like? It's really easy, and I think that is for 5 reasons. The first one is the battery life, which is just brilliant. They're rated, I think, at beyond 20 hours, which I've always said is fine for headphones. If you've got beyond 20 hours battery life, then you're going to be fine with that. But where these really sing, and I mentioned this in my comparison with the AirPods Max, is the standby time. I so rarely charge these headphones. I had to charge them the other day, and I couldn't remember the last time I'd done it. And like I say, I use them most days. Now, I don't use them constantly all day. I use them for 2 or 3 hours at a time, possibly, sometimes less. But if that's the way that you use headphones, you'll find that you charge these so infrequently. And when you live with headphones, that is such an important consideration, as is the second point, which is the fact they charge via USB-C, which I'm always going on about, but for good reason. Everything else I have in here is USB-C charged, whether it's headphones, camera batteries, my iPad, my laptops, they're all USB-C. The only things that aren't USB-C are my iPhone and my AirPods Max, and it's a pain charging them via Lightning. And I've always got a USB-C cable hanging around, so there's always something I can use to plug it in and charge. So that's great. The third thing is the case. Living with this case is a dream because as soon as these are in there, I can just lob it anywhere and not worry about them. Comfort, these are a very comfortable pair of headphones. Now this is a bit subjective and we all have different heads and different ears, so no manufacturer can make a single pair of headphones comfortable for everyone. The general consensus that the reviews I've read and seen myself, along with my own, seem to suggest that these are a very, very comfortable pair of headphones. And I can confirm that after a year of using these, they don't wear me out at all. And like I say, I don't wear them all day. I'm not that kind of headphone user, but you know, for 2 or 3 hours, your ears don't start to get warm or fatigued. They're very comfortable. Lastly, the Bluetooth connection. I wish it had the W1 chip in here, which is what's in the AirPods, which makes, you know, connecting to multiple Apple devices a lot easier. It doesn't. Apple doesn't license that at the moment, so in fairness to Sony, they have no choice but to just use standard Bluetooth. But in terms of that Bluetooth connection, it's incredibly reliable. It never drops. I've never had trouble reconnecting to devices. You can connect 2 devices at once to this via some kind of weird switching it does. I've tried that. It works. It's not for me personally. I don't need to do that because I only really connect these either to my laptop or my phone, but it's normally the phone. So yeah, the Bluetooth has been completely, perfectly reliable. The only thing that you may not like, actually, living with these day to day, is the looks. They're not the most attractive headphones. I went for this kind of bone white type finish. I'd rather have gone with the black version, which I did have. I had that with the Sony XM3s. I think they look better in black. Even regardless of the colour, they're just a bit dour, really. They're not. If you like your headphones to really stand out and have a real kind of visual flair, the XM4s aren't for you at all. They're very functional looking, I think, really. They're not ugly, I don't think personally, but again, living with them, if you like attractive headphones, whatever that might be, then they might not be for you. So in summary, really simple. These are the best consumer headphones I've ever owned. I would buy them this year without hesitation, particularly given the price at the moment. I'll come on in a moment to what I'd like from the XM5s. I wouldn't let that sway your buying decision. These are a bargain at the moment. So if you've been umming and ahhing about these and you're not sure whether to go for them, if you've got the money, go for it, because you will not be disappointed. The wear and tear alone, which is non-existent after a year of pretty heavy use, is just superb. Great value for money. But if you add to that the great sound, the fantastic noise cancelling, that brilliant case, comfort, rock solid Bluetooth, they are a brilliant pair of headphones. So if the theoretical XM5s arrive anytime soon or next year or whenever, what do I want from them? I really tried to think about this before filming, and I was struggling, and the only things I can think of really are perhaps a slightly updated design. These are, like I mentioned a moment ago, they're not for everyone's taste really, and the design is starting to look a bit old. You know, they look very similar, almost identical actually to the XM3s. Yeah, a bit of a design update, some different colours would be nice. I do like colourful tech. There's a white version now actually, which looks very nice, but yeah, just a bit more visual flair, I think, really. They could improve the sound a little bit, perhaps get rid of some of that hollowness that seems to exist. That's it. I can't think of anything else that I want from the XM5s. They haven't got to change the case. They could ruin a lot of things. They could change the case to some kind of horrible flimsy thing, who knows? And they might do something silly with the sound or with the design. They've got more chance of ruining the XM5s, I think, than improving on the XM4s, but that says everything about these headphones. And just a quick shout out again to the XM3s. If you want a real bargain, then I'd go for these actually, because you can get these even cheaper than the XM4s at the moment. They're not that different really. They look the same as I mentioned, and there's a few features missing, but if you just want a solid, really good sounding pair of noise cancelling headphones, then you won't miss those little features and things on here. These are brilliant headphones still today, and they're 2 or 3 years old now. So if you really want to save some money, get the XM3s. Now, if you'd like to see my comparison between the Sony XM4s and the AirPods Max, keep watching for a link to that video. But in the meantime, thank you as always for watching, and I'll catch you next time.